The 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, envy, pride, gluttony, wrath, sloth. There are 7 angry birds that perfectly match this description. And starting with wrath, extreme anger, which perfectly matches red. Red's short temper is legendary, and his tendency to lash out at the slightest inconvenience makes him a perfect embodiment of wrath. For example, when another bird accidentally knocks over his carefully built structure, he doesn't have any time for reasoning. He immediately explodes in anger, refusing to listen to the bird's explanation or his apologies. His anger often blinds him to reason, causing him to act impulsively and very violently, such as when he rushes into battle without a plan, driving solely from desperate vengeance. This destructive behavior creates a barrier between him and others, which making him an outcast, which we can see very well in the Angry Birds movie. But Red's wrath leads to a cycle of vengeance and retribution, where his inability to forgive or let go of any grievances only fuels his further anger, which is a continuous cycle of fury, not only isolating him from others, but traps him in a state of conflict all the time. And it just shows how wrath can lead to a life filled with regret and unsolved pain. This can easily be escaped from just not being naive and broadening your ways and actually being reasonable. But that can't be changed for all. Gluttony, habitual greed or excess in eating. None fits this description more than King Pig. King Pig's obsession with food and indulgence paints a clear picture of gluttony. His excess consumption goes beyond just mere hunger, reflecting on deeper desire just to fill a void of material pleasure inside of himself, which he lost somehow, which was never explained to us. But for example, during a feast, King Pig gorges on way more than anybody would ever need. His size anyways, he's a pig. He has a thought that others might go hungry as a result of him overindulging, especially in his kingdom, which looks pretty medieval. And if you know anything about those times, they were not good times to be alive. Not only does overconsumption lead to sluggishness and just health problems overall, but also strains the resources around him, leading to imbalance within the kingdom. And this can be seen as well in the real life example as Nico Avocado in the real life, a YouTube sensation, but turned very bad. I'm not going to talk too much about him, but if you know, you know. I'm not comparing him to a pig, okay? Diving deeper into the Angry Birds lore, let's say, King Pig's gluttony is a metaphor for how overconsumption can lead to personal and communal harm, as his unchecked desires create a ripple effect of just negativity for everybody around him, and his inability to incorporate moderation ultimately results in the failure of him as a leader, and figuratively and literally shows the path of gluttony. Lust is having a strong desire towards someone. Who better than Bomb supports this role perfectly? I do know of some other roles that also fit this, like Terrence or Matilda in the franchise, but Bomb fits this role perfectly because Bomb's explosive nature is a metaphor for lust, characterized by uncontrollable desires and impulsive actions, which is shown during the movies and can be seen throughout the games and also the series. His intense need for instant gratification leads him to make reckless decisions without considering the consequences for those actions. There's a lot of times where Bomb has impulsively charged into a situation driven by the fleeting passion without the consequences or the repercussions of that, without any thought of the potential fallout of these situations mentioned before. They're all fueled by his passion for it and his desire to do it. Not only hurts him, but hurts people around him, which is sad to see. And these unchecked desires can spiral out of control, leading him to a life filled with regret, untamed harm, making lust a particularly dangerous vice to this sloth. Reluctance to work or to make any efforts, also known as just plain laziness. And none embodies this more than Terrence. Terrence gotta be one of the most clear examples of sloth seen in the franchise, and seen characterized by laziness and refusal to act. But despite his great potential and abilities being a lot bigger than the rest of the birds and insanely quick with the way that guy was teleporting around, he prefers to remain inactive in the back, not spoken character. You don't really see him, you don't really hear of him, and choosing comfort over effort. His slothfulness prevents him from contributing to a greater good, and he often misses opportunities for further growth and also just achievements to put underneath his name. His inaction becomes a heavy burden, showing how a sloth can lead to a wasted life where potential is skewered and meaningful achievements are fewer. Greed, intense and selfish desire for something, and none embodies this more perfectly than Zeta. It has relentless pursuit for more, whether it's power, wealth, or just control, exemplifies greed. She is never, no matter what the consequences or the motion is, she's never satisfied, always seeking to acquire more and more and more, ultimately leading to her demise. Even if it means harming others in the process, not caring for anyone else's feelings or anybody else's benefit. For instance, Zeta might launch an attack on another island not because she needs more resources, but simply because she wants to expand her dominance. Her insatiable desire drives her to make ruthless decisions, such as betraying her allies and or exploiting weaker and less smarter birds than her, often at the cost of her morals and relationships. Zeta's greed blinds her to seek the values of what she already has, leading to her life becoming eventually dissatisfied and lonely because she's snaked everybody in her life. Pursuit of excess ultimately leads to her downfall in the end, as very things that she wants eventually slip away, and due to her inability to appreciate them, always seeking something else, highlights the destructive nature of being a greedy person. Envy, to feel resentful and or unhappy. None embodies this perfectly as Stella. There's too many instances where Stella is constantly comparing herself to others, leading to feelings of resentment and want. Say, when another bird in the flock is praised for their achievements, Stella immediately feels envious or just doesn't want to celebrate their success. Even when she achieves something remarkable, she can't help but focus on what others have that she doesn't, whether it's recognition, abilities, or just relationships. This envy drives a wedge between her and those around her as she becomes increasingly and increasingly better and more competitive as time goes on. For instance, when a friend receives an award, Stella's initial reaction is not to celebrate but wonder why she wasn't chosen for that reward. Her ability to appreciate her own achievement leaves her dissatisfied even when she outshines others in different areas. This causes tension and just mistrust between her and the relationships around her. But also, not only doing that, she erodes her own personal self-worth, demonstrating how envy can consume a person from within, leaving them bitter and unfulfilled. Pride, a feeling of deep desire or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. None embodies this more perfectly than Joe. While Joe's overbearing pride is evident in her actions and also her attributes, she sees herself as a superior to others, leading her to make decisions without considering the impact on those around her. During crucial missions, Joe dismisses the strategy proposed by her team, convinced that her plan in her head is the only viable option. Her excess self-confidence makes her dismissive of advice from third-party people, and she often overlooks the value of teamwork, believing she can achieve everything on her own. When her plan fails atrociously, Joe's pride prevents her from acknowledging her mistake, further alienating her from her friends and also her allies. The cycle of arrogance and isolation eventually catches up to her, and showcasing the self-destructive nature of pride. Rovio, through these characters and the Angry Birds franchise, offers more than just entertainment. It provides a reflection on the human conditioning that each bird struggles with and reflects in the sin of the tale in the 7 deadly sins. It shows if left unchecked, this can lead to personal and communal ruin, and it isolates the nature of pride, envy, lust, greed, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. These all have different results in different people and show what life could be like with each of these things. And hopefully you agree with these, and if not, let me know below which ones you would change and which ones you'd replace them with, and add a bit of reasoning, so I'm not going to blindly agree with you.